The flagship screens did not register the iron blocks until they tore through the command deck. The modern armor did not ripple. The energy shields did not flash. 6 solid slugs of unrefined metal dropped out of the dark void and punched through 3 layers of reinforced carbon plating. No one drew a weapon. The galaxy recalibrated anyway. The Raider fleet had relied on electronic warfare to scramble the station's grid, but the old warship did not have a grid to scramble. It had valves, hydraulic lines, and 3 inches of heavy lead lining. The alien targeting sensors cycled green, completely ignoring the physical approach of the ancient gray hull. Captain Myril Ofer did not look at the tactical display. She stood on the steel floor of the command deck, her left hand resting on the empty sidearm latch at her hip. The metal was cold against her palm, scarred by micro-welding burns that marked her cuffs. What happened next? I wish I could say it ended with the gunfire. Stay close. 8,000 years earlier, the alarms came back to life before the lights did. The ice on the control boards did not melt. It shattered under the sudden vibration of the auxiliary turbines. Frost cracked off 40 bodies that hadn't drawn breath since a battle none of them remembered losing. Ofer pulled the stasis tubes free with her own hands, coughing up the thick, synthetic grease that had kept her lungs from collapsing. Her throat burned with the taste of old zinc. She did not ask for a status report. She walked straight to the primary terminal and struck the casing with the heel of her hand until the glass flickered. "BRCK," Ofer said. Her voice was thin, like paper sliding across stone. "Give me the time delta since the fold entry." The shipboard core did not reply with a synthesized voice. It dropped raw lines of data across the green screen. The numbers rolled for 3 seconds before settling on a 5-digit solar count. "The array is functional, Captain," BRCK's text read on the glass. The system paused for a fraction of a second, a small hesitation in the code. "The drift duration is 8,114 years. The Sol network is non-responsive. We are clear of the folded corridor." Ofer stood still. She did not curse. She reached down, touched the weld marks on her sleeve, and looked out the reinforced viewport. The stars were in the wrong places. The constellations she had used to navigate the outer rim had stretched and split into unrecognizable clusters of pale white light. The station named Lion's Reach appeared on their sensors 3 hours later. It was an impossible white curve, a ring of soft glass and light that spanned 12 miles across. It had no visible thrusters, no armor plating, and no weapon mounts. It sat in the open vacuum like a bubble, relying entirely on post-scarcity structural fields that ignored the standard laws of material stress. A thin, high-frequency signal pinged the VOW's primitive receiver. Ofer accepted the link, routing the audio through the central horn speaker. "Unknown vessel," a voice said. The translation software struggled, turning the words soft and overly formal. "You are drifting into the logistics lane. Your hull matches historical templates from the early expansion archives. I am Liaison Salvin. You are registered as a biological resurrection event. Please disable your kinetic arrays and accept a towing beam." "We don't have a towing latch, Salvin," Ofer said. "And our arrays stay live until I see your registry." "There are no registries here, Captain," Salvin replied. The alien's voice carried a strange, unbothered calm. "There has been no conflict in this sector for 6,000 years. You are safe. The survey councils are already preparing sanctuary quarters for your crew." They moored the VOW against a secondary docking spar that groaned under the ship's dead weight. The station coordinators treated the crew like artifacts, leaving them to wander the promenade deck while the administrative councils processed their status. Petty Officer Reyes sat on the lower edge of the promenade, his boots resting against the lip of a synthetic terrestrial simulation stall. The machine was designed to mimic an old Earth town. It had green grass, small wooden benches, and the sound of wind moving through trees. Reyes reached down, pulled a blade of the grass, and crushed it between his thumb and forefinger. It didn't stain his skin. The smell that filled the air was wrong subtly, deeply wrong in every way. It smelled like warm plastic and laundry detergent instead of wet soil and autumn leaf mold. "They made a toy," Reyes said, looking up as Ofer approached. "They built a museum for us because they think the universe is finished." "The universe isn't finished," Ofer said. She looked past the artificial trees toward the glass outer wall. "They just stopped looking at the edge. The alien data drones have tried to access my core 41 times, BRCK reported through Ofer's handheld receiver. The terminal screen blinked. "They are looking for tactical logs from the Sol conflict. I have denied the requests. Their own defense networks are entirely automated. They have no physical backups." The alarm that broke the peace did not sound like the Vow's klaxons. It was a pleasant, musical chime that repeated 3 times across the station's common areas. 6 ships dropped out of a dark space fold near the outer markers. They were angular, dark hulls that carried no carbon engine signatures and no identification flags. The Moran Dominion raiders did not broadcast a declaration. They simply opened their primary plasma rails and fired on the station's escort units. The Varang fleet deployed within seconds, moving into an elegant, complex defensive grid. Their ships formed a perfect circle, their energy shields linking together to create a massive wall of blue light. It was a beautiful maneuver, planned by logistical computers for maximum coverage. It failed in less than a minute. The Raider flagship broadcasted a high-density electronic warfare packet that bypassed the alien shields entirely. The linked blue wall flickered, turned gray, and dissolved. The automated targeting grids on the Varang ships went dark as the Raider plasma rails began to systematically gut the unarmored hulls from behind. "Their rear flank is completely open," Reyes shouted, running onto the Vow's command deck. "The alien fleet is turning, but their engines are too slow. They are getting cut to pieces." Ofer did not wait for the station council to call. She did not ask Salvin for permission. She struck the primary release valve with her palm, severing the umbilical lines that tied them to the docking spar. "Reyes, get to the lower gun deck," Ofer ordered. Her voice took on the flat, heavy cadence of the old fleet manual. "Voss, redline the auxiliary boilers. We are moving into the gap." "The Raider flagship is shifting its vector toward the main civilian hangar," BRCK text flashed. A small millisecond latency showed on the monitor. "The Varang units are dropping their arrays. They are retreating toward the inner ring." The Vow lurked in the debris shadow, its heavy steel hull cold and silent. The ship had no electronic shield signatures for the Raider sensors to track. It was just 30,000 tons of old iron and lead moving through the dark. Ofer stood by the manual steering wheel, her boots braced against the floor plates as the ship swung wide. "Reyes, target the second Raider hull. Don't waste the capacitors on their screens. Aim for the engine joints." The old warship cleared the edge of the station's shadow. The lower gun tier opened its ports with a heavy mechanical clatter. Reyes dropped his hands onto the manual triggers, bypassing the dead electronic targeting loops entirely. He used the iron crosshairs, calculating the lead by the old rule of thumb he had learned in the Sol Rim. The Vow's primary rail cannon fired. There was no sound in the vacuum, only a violent, bone-deep shudder that ran from the bow to the stern plates. A 300-pound block of solid iron left the magnetic rails at 4 times the speed of sound. The slug struck the second Raider vessel directly beneath its primary sensor cluster. The modern kinetic shields, built to absorb high-frequency energy beams, did not register the heavy, uncharged mass. The iron block passed through the hull, exited the other side, and left a clean, ragged hole that vented the ship's atmospheric tanks into space.